Good evening and welcome. My name is Ginger Fay and I'm one of the directors here at Applerouth Tutoring Services. We are a tutoring and test prep company and we work with students at all ages and stages as they pursue their dreams and goals in higher education. And we are especially excited tonight to be talking with students who are early in their high school career, wondering what's next and how to get ready for it. And I'm joined this evening by a wonderful colleague, Dale Price, who is in Texas tonight and is going to share with you a great sort of primer on the college application process, not because you need to do it all now, but because it's really helpful to know when the trains are scheduled so you can get out of the way in time. We are going to have an hour together tonight, and Dale is going to try and cram as much information into that hour as possible. There may be specific questions that you have about your situation, your circumstances. Maybe you're the first in your family to go to college and hoping to go to college, and you've got some particular questions. Whatever questions or concerns you have, please put them in the Q&A box as they occur to you, and we will try and cover as many of those as we possibly can. So without further ado, I'm going to let Dale get us started, and I'll just let you know if you don't take all the notes that you'd like to tonight, if you are also making dinner and managing other things around the house or doing some homework, know that we will share the recording of tonight's presentation with you, and Dale has been generous enough to share his slide presentation as well, so you'll be receiving that via email. So thank you so much, Dale, for being with us tonight, taking a little time away from your beautiful baby daughter, and we look forward to learning a little bit about what's coming up from us for College Planning 101.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so excited about being here too. Welcome to College Planning 101, everybody. You are in for a real treat. I am going to be giving you the inside scoop on college planning for all high school grades. So definitely make sure that you grab a pen and paper, take notes. This is going to be good. And I'm going to end the screen share real quick. I also want to make sure that you use me in this brief time that we have with each other. Use the Q&A box. If you have questions about your circumstances, classes, GPA, stats, I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to definitely ask me that. So let's go ahead and dive right in as we get started on this. So the presentation for today, I'm going to go over COVID's impact on college admissions. I'm going to give you information on getting started as well as academic planning. I will do my best to get through a little bit of the essay, but I will only touch on the SAT and ACTs. I mean, we've got the leaders here already, so you don't need me to go into that. As well as some very common mistakes. And again, at the very end, I will definitely make sure I have time to answer your questions. In case you don't know who I am, again, I'm Dale Price. I'm the founder and owner of Access College America. We're based in Austin, Texas, but I get to work with scholars all over the country. Scholars are students that we meet with privately and independently. You may have seen my advice featured on Good Day Austin, ABC, Good Day Texas, and so forth. I'm also a past senior admissions officer, and I did graduate from the University of Texas. I am a Longhorn. I used to run my chapter's alumni association. And fun fact number one, last year our scholars received about 250 offers. Fun fact number two, I love extreme travel. I will never go to Egypt again, though. Oh my goodness, talk about a tough trip. But I did get to climb inside of a pyramid. Bucket list check. This is Bonnie. She also works with our students as well. But I'm going to go ahead and give you a real quick disclaimer. The information intended for this presentation generally is intended for schools that are highly selective, flagship institutions like Georgia, Go Dogs, and competitive programs at universities, typically the STEM programs. And it's important that you all know that high schools really do vary in course selection. So I don't want you to take the information I'm will be providing as it is a one size fits all. You will be compared within the context of your high school. So always keep that in mind, that college planning cannot be provided with broad strokes. It is very, very particular to you and your high school. Also, always check with the university that you are looking into for the most up-to-date recent information as well. So, and do not stress, you absolutely got this. Now, trends in college admissions. I want to talk to you just real quick about what the pandemic has done. We saw a real increase in applications this past year. Ironically, we thought with the pandemic that colleges would actually be less selective because students were applying to less schools, but it had the opposite effect. More students are applying to more colleges because the barrier for entry has actually lowered, thanks to things becoming test optional now. So realize, for those of you that are planning on applying to those flagship institutions out there, highly selective colleges, they will be receiving more applications than some of the lower selective schools. And it's important that you guys understand that colleges are all a business. And they're in the business of recruiting your college application to their university. You see, the more applications a university has, the lower the acceptance rates that the university can have. And also, colleges are going to have to report their yield rates to the public. And so the lower the acceptance rates, the more popular the university. The higher the yield rates, the more popular the university. And so this data gets reported to the public as marketing material. So colleges love the fact that right now they are overwhelmed with college applications. I also want to let you guys know that low test scores can really mean a very quick elimination in the world of college admissions. It's so important that you understand the science behind submitting these test scores, that you don't want to simply look at the 50th percentile range for a university and assume that that's going to be a really good score to send. Everybody is using that same strategy. So colleges know, and I learned this thanks to the folks at Applerouth. I love everything they do. I follow their advice. But realize that if you are applying to a highly selective university or a competitive program at a university, and you are a majority applicant from a highly academic high school, you really do want to be competitive with that test score, and identifying a score in the 75th percentile range for that university can help you be more competitive. So understand what is the right score for you, and if it is going to help you be competitive at that university, because we saw low test scores can mean a quick elimination. Also, we learned last year that demonstrated interest is so important, more important than it used to be. Colleges are tracking you. They are monitoring your level of engagement with them. So make sure that you are involved in this contact sport called college admissions. So everything you do starting from the freshman year, this can be tracked by colleges and universities. Make sure that you're engaged, make sure that you're doing college visits, and I'm going to continue showing you some other ways you can also demonstrate interest. And again, for those of you that just joined us, maybe you chimed in a little bit late, I'm just giving you an update on the admissions trends that we saw last year. We noticed that with the removal of test scores to some colleges, that things really became that much more important, such as the level of rigor you took in high school, how your essays were reading, and especially your fit to your major, your fit to major. Are you applying to colleges and universities with experience towards that major? And realize that because you have more students applying to more colleges, and acceptance rates were actually lower last year than they were in years past, some of you may need to reevaluate your college list. We recommend at Access College America that you have a balanced list of 6 to 8 schools by May of your junior year. And that safety school, because of the sheer volume of applications at a university, it may actually become more of a target. and the target school you thought that you had about a pretty decent chance of getting into may actually be more of a reach for you, especially if you're applying test optional. So all the more reason why we really do want you to realize that, as you are applying to colleges and universities, having that game plan, having some strategy involved with all of this can actually help you out. Okay, and again, as I mentioned before, having a balanced list is going to be important. Do not fall in love with any one school either. All right, so let me explain to you, and again, make sure that you put your questions in the chat box, and we have a raffle that we will also be having early. There's a link in the chat box that'll be going out, by the way, and if you enter your contact information, then we'll be raffling off one of our labs. So definitely make sure that you click on that link for that. But let me explain to you, because so many high school students don't really know what the review process is like at colleges and universities. So there's really two types of review. There are traditional reviews and more holistic reviews. Traditional reviews, generally speaking, as long as you have the grades and the test scores, you're in, all right? And moms and dads out there, this is pretty much how we applied to college. Back in the day, as long as you had the grades and as long as you had the test scores, you're in. And there was that whole terminology of being well-rounded. And for the selective colleges, as long as you were well-rounded, you got into the selective colleges as long as you volunteered and maybe you went to the animal shelter and you walked the dogs out there and you played sports and you worked. I mean, you pretty much got into where you wanted to back then, all right? And in terms of the traditional review, I would say about 50% of the admissions officer's decision would be based off of your transcripts. What are your grades that you had in high school? And then 40% of the admissions officer's decision would normally be based off the test scores. And then 10% of the admissions officer's decision in a traditional review will be based off of your supplements. That's your letters of recommendation, your essays, letters of recommendation, essays, and things like that. So in a holistic review, all right, and that is what a lot of you are probably going to be applying to. It's a little bit different. Everything is fair game in this, starting with your freshman summer. And so what I mean by that is it's not going to be a test score that's going to get you across the finish line. It's not going to be an essay that gets you across the finish line. In the holistic review, right, the college is going to be looking at everything. And they are going to be looking at, do you have experience in the particular major you're applying to? So I talk a lot about the University of Texas because I'm based in Austin. And like other flagship institutions, their screening process is pretty similar. But I will say the most important part of any college application is going to be your transcripts. And in a holistic review, the admissions officer is looking for three things on the transcripts. They're looking at your GPA. They want to know, how did you do given the resources you had at your high school? The second thing they're looking at, behind that really great GPA, what is the level of rigor that you have, right? If you have a really solid GPA, but do you have the rigor to back it up? Are you getting easy A's? Are you getting hard A's? And realize that selective colleges want to see you taking the highest level of rigor being offered in your discipline. And then the third thing they're often looking at is your evidence of a fit to major. They're looking at what's called your intellectual curiosity. When given the opportunity, how did you rise to the occasion? Are you demonstrating interest? For example, if you want to study engineering, are you demonstrating interest by taking Physics C your senior year, or are you switching gears and you're doing APES? If you're wanting to study business, are you taking AP Stats your senior year, or are you rising up and you're going to be taking BC Cal? So academic planning is extremely, extremely important. And so again, the GPA, the rigor, and also the evidence, the class selection, demonstrating your intellectual curiosity is incredibly important. Now, as I'm discussing your holistic review, I also want to point out that, colleges and universities know your high school students, and some of you are still trying to figure out, what do I want to do with my life? So, and we realize that many of you are still trying to figure that out. So realize, whenever we talk about an academic timeline, I often say your first 2 years of high school, do a little bit of everything. Get engaged with college, with different clubs and organizations and all sorts of things like that. But your last 2 years of high school, your junior and your senior year, this is what the admissions officer is going to see last before they realize whether or not you're going to get admitted into their program. So I really do recommend that your last 2 years of high school, you really do kind of want to focus more on the activities that are going to be directly related to the major you're going to be studying in college. Okay, and again, you can ask me about these questions at any time. I'm not going to touch on the SATs and the ACTs, you guys. You are here with the test pros. You don't need me to talk to you about this. But I do want to tell you something that I recently learned from Jed, who is absolutely incredible. He really put this into perspective, that applying test optional, and I've got it in the screen share here, applying test optional, realize colleges now know you have access to these tests. You don't have testing sites closing down, getting canceled anymore. And so realize the admissions officer, when they're reviewing your college application, if you're not applying with the test score, they are very likely going to assume you had a modest score at best. So one of the things that I really do want you all to take note of is, when you're looking at colleges and universities, I really recommend looking at the common data set. So for example, if you want to get an idea of what is going to be a competitive SAT or ACT test score, we recommend looking up the common data set. You can Google any university name and type in common data set right after it. And there should be a full host of reports right here on the front page showing you how the last incoming class performed. Now realize the common data set is like 35 pages, all right? Do not read all 35 pages. But what you do want to do is take a look at C7, which is the basis for selection. And if you were applying to UGA, right here is where you would see all of the things that UGA is going to consider when they review your college application and what is extremely important. The other thing, again, and I know that we've got a ton of juniors here, and you want to make sure that you have a goal set for these tests. C9 is going to give you the basis or the freshman profile. And here is where you can see what type of SAT or ACT score do you need to be competitive for that university. Now realize that some majors are more competitive than others. So again, if you're looking at applying to anything STEM-based, engineering, nursing, architecture, even business, there's a lot of math in business. You really do want to make sure that you're here as well at the same time. Now you can still get into Georgia and be in the bottom quarter of this, but realize the folks getting admitted here, these are minority applicants coming from underrepresented high schools, underrepresented communities, possibly states that don't send a lot of applicants to Georgia. So these are your athletes oftentimes as well. So again, if you are interested in looking up stats on a college or a university, you can Google any university name plus type in the common data set, and that will give you information on that. But I'm picking on Georgia Tech real quick, and here's why. I want you to make sure that as you are looking up the common data sets on every college and university, one thing that you do want to take note of is, actually it wasn't even Georgia Tech. I'm sorry. I was looking at, what's another school that I can look up real quick? Wasn't Georgia Tech, but one thing that you want to look at here is the level of the applicant's interest, because I get this question all the time, and unfortunately Georgia Tech is a no. I swore they did though. This stands for demonstrated interest, and are they tracking you? Are they monitoring your level of engagement with the university? And anytime you see that they are involved in it, they are tracking you, you definitely want to make sure that you are showing up on their radar. But let me give you a pro tip. You should be demonstrating interest to every college, right? It's not just about the school sizing you up, you are sizing the school up. So this is not necessarily about you collecting a bunch of talking points with the university. This is about you connecting with colleges and universities. So let me tell you something, students. Where you go to college is very likely to be the first real adult decision that you ever make. All right. This decision is going to last you a lifetime. And for those moms and dads here today, this will be the biggest gift you ever give your kids, a bachelor's degree, unless you buy them a home. So, I want you to realize that you owe it to yourself as a family to connect with universities, do your college visits, try these schools on for size, meet with your admissions officers, and to do this over a number of years, waiting until the junior year, which is arguably the hardest year in high school, especially spring semester of the junior year, can really add complexity and stress overall to this. So, I do talk a lot about the common data set, because any school that receives taxpayer dollars must be completely transparent with their stats. And it's really important that you know where to go to find your information. There's a lot of bogus third-party resources out there. So I always go straight to the university to pull up your data. Okie doke. So that was a little bit of a detour. So make sure that you have an idea and a goal before you sit for the SAT and the ACT. What is the right test for you? What is a competitive score? And when is the right time for you to take that test? And a high score can help you get across the finish line. I also want to talk briefly about academics, and I'm not going to go too much into summer planning, but I do want you all to realize that when you are entering high school, freshmen and sophomores, you are right on time with this. It's important that you all are understanding and you are aware of your school profile. What is your school profile? Well, let me explain something to you. Your school profile is a report that's going to get sent to all colleges and universities that are reviewing your application. And a university is going to review you within the context of the resources you have access to. You're not being compared to a student across town. You are in competition with the other students in your high school. So you can literally Google school, your high school's name, and you should find your school report on there. And this is almost like a report card of how how your high school does. It will have a list of the resources that you are being offered at your high school, the types of colleges students are getting admitted into at your high school, and also stats for your high school. What is the average SAT? What is the average ACT? How many national merits students are coming from your high school? Oftentimes there's a lot of really good information here. And I say that you want to think about the school profile, and as you are creating your academic plan, if you really are planning on applying to highly selectives or competitive programs, look at the subjects that are being offered at your high school and make sure that you work backwards, right? You don't want to get to your senior year and realize that your high school is offering 2 more years of math that you never took. Maybe if you did a summer session of math, you would have got to BC Cal, or in the case that I'm showing you right now, post-Cal classes like multivariable calculus and linear algebra. So really important, academic planning is going to be a big factor into your review. Look at the high school options, build out your senior year, set those goals, and work backwards, you will likely find you may need to include some summer school. Now, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this presentation, if you are planning on applying to really awesome schools, maybe they're not the most selective college in the region, you don't have to do a lot of this, right? But if you really are aiming high and you're wanting to get in, especially to Ivies, Harvard, Penn, these colleges, the expectation is that you are taking the highest level, you're getting to the highest level courses across all disciplines, right? So you have to have a roadmap to get there. So, it's important that you all know what is being reported behind your college application. You Google the name of your high school, look at the school profile, and look at what is the average SAT? What is the average ACT at my high school? How do I really stand out? What clubs and organizations are here? What is the curriculum look like? And so, because this is who you are being compared with, and admissions officers want to see achievement through context, and providing as much context is going to be extremely important as you are doing that. So I've already explained two resources that you probably didn't know about: the common data set and your school profile. And if you do not see your school profile on your online, feel free to always ask your guidance counselor about that. Okay, cool. So academic planning, extremely, extremely important. And I get this question asked all the time. How many APs do I need to go to college? That's a personal question. It's up to you. You have to take the level of APs that feel right to you and the classes that you can really excel in. Now, when I worked in college admissions, I said everything. You got to take all APs and you got to get all A's. That's not reasonable though, and that's not the right decision for everybody. So colleges and universities really want to see, what are you great at? What are you curious about? And how are you challenging yourself? So as you are making your list of academic plans and you are looking at the level of classes you can take, really think about the year going ahead. And I always advise our scholars. Our scholars are students we work with privately and independently. As we are mapping out that curriculum, I ask our scholars, does this schedule look challenging? Does it look almost hard? And if the answer is yes, good. Do you think you can get A's in these classes? And if the answer is no, then we dial back, we make compromises, right? High school needs to be fun, it needs to be engaging, and you need to be learning a lot at the same time. So make sure that you have an idea of how you're mapping out your academics. Now, summer planning, can you believe it, first of all, that there is a slide on here about summer, and it's only October the 14th. But believe it or not, at the beginning of the year, this is when some of the applications are going to be due for selective summer programs. So, realize that your summers are going to be scrutinized at selective universities, and you really want to make sure that you are using your summer wisely. So start thinking about what you would like to spend your time in the summer, but realize that the competitive summer options, typically those applications will be due around February, March. We require all of our scholars to have their summer plans identified by March 1st. Waiting until June to map out a summer, a lot of the really great competitive internships and leadership camps, those spots have been full. Also related to academic dual credit versus AP and IB, I get asked this a lot: which is better, AP courses or IB courses? Colleges love them both. Again, you are being evaluated within the context of your high school. And colleges just want to see that you are rising to the challenge of taking these classes. Now, as for dual credit courses, colleges really, really want to see you take the highest level of rigor being offered in your high school before you go outside of your high school and add rigor. Now, oftentimes taking a dual credit course at a community college, for example, is totally fine and reasonable for those in-state schools. But when you're applying to universities out of state, especially the really expensive private schools, they want their money, by the way. They really do shy away from the dual credit classes. And, you know, I always say make room for those computer science and engineering classes. You know, if you're applying to business, computer science, engineering, oftentimes my seniors, we're doubling up in our math. We're getting to the highest level of math we possibly can get to. We're doubling up on that, which could include BC Cal with AP Stats and making sure we're squeezing in Physics C for those engineering students. At the bare minimum, graduating with biochemistry and physics. These are the three most important sciences out there. And again, take a look at the colleges that you're applying to. Look at the common data sets and look at what does that college really value on my application. Class rank, GPA, extracurricular activities, the list goes on. And, you know, I mentioned a moment ago, moms and dads out there, when we applied to college, universities were looking for someone who was well-rounded. Yes. And they're looking for students today to demonstrate a deep dive into the subject that they're going to be studying into college. Have they gone through reflection and discovery? And how do we know that they aren't going to switch their mind and transfer out of our university? I love telling our families that colleges are a business and they want to make sure that when you start, you're going to graduate, right? You know, statistically speaking, students today, 30% transfer rates. It does not do a university any good to admit you into a psychology program, and then a year later you transfer and you want to go do business at another school. They did not get their money on you. Secondly, first year dropout rate is 50%. 50% of students are dropping out of college after the first year. And the number one reason why they drop out is because they say they feel like they just don't fit in. So realize that as you are shopping for colleges and universities, you are realizing, you know, what is it that you're really curious about? And you're demonstrating that you've done the reflection and the work through your activities that you are surrounding yourself in, especially your last 2 years of high school. Now, I will be stopping in a moment and answering questions. So do make sure that you are in the chat box, or in the Q&A, adding your questions. I would love to get to these. So make sure if you have questions about academics, SATs, academic planning, make sure that you do those. I do want to touch real quick also on independent learning, MOOCs, and capstone projects. One thing that we require our scholars is that to participate in creating a capstone project. What is a capstone project? What's an independent project? Well, you know, colleges are not looking for consumers of activities. If you're applying to anything competitive, they're looking for generators of activities. How can you demonstrate that you created learning experiences that were not given to you? And so doing this through MOOCs and capstones, I absolutely love this. Now, MOOCs stand for Massive Open Online Classes, Massive Open Online Classes. And now what is that exactly? Well, let's say, for example, that you are interested in getting into engineering, and maybe you want to work on your physics skills. Well, you can literally go to Coursera.org and you can type in really any subject, but for the purpose of this activity, I'm just going to talk with you about physics. And you can scroll down, and let's say that you're a beginner and you want something that you can do in maybe 1 to 3 months, you know? Well, you can literally take a class from Stanford on understanding Einstein, the theory of relativity. How cool is that? This is an actual class, guys. There's a syllabus. And there's chapters, there's videos, there's quizzes and readings for you to do, right? And then guess what? This class is about 81 hours to complete. It's beginner level, 100% online. When you're done, you get a certificate from Stanford in physics. How many of your friends are going to have a certificate from Stanford? So I'm not saying that you have to do this one, but as you can see, there are a lot of really cool courses you can take. This one is on Intro to Thermodynamics. It's only 16 hours to complete. So let me explain to you the purpose of doing a MOOC, a massive open online class, is to demonstrate your level of curiosity towards a subject, to do something other than playing video games also. So this is an opportunity to take your learning to that next level and get credit for it. Now, two things I want you to know. The name of the university has no impact whatsoever. It's not going to influence the Office of Admissions. Michigan is not admitting you because you did an online class on Intro to Thermodynamics. So the most important thing you can do is maintain the level of integrity you have for learning here and really enroll in a class that you do want to learn that material from. Secondly, I never recommend a MOOC longer than 40 hours. So I would never recommend this one to our scholars. This is not for a grade. It is simply for the joy of learning. This is not required by college admissions. This is only providing content, evidence, experience for you to demonstrate your level of learning. And by taking these classes, you can reference back to some of the material that you learned in that class. And then guess what? What you can also do is on your resume, I'm going to show you an example of our resume. On your resume, you can actually add it to your resume. So for example, here's our resume template. And our scholars have a section on the resume and they label it certifications. And this is where your MOOCs go. So if you do one or two classes in physics, maybe you do one on thermodynamics, or maybe you do one in psychology, you can list that class, a brief description of that class, and link a PDF to that certification on the resume. Done. And realize the class is for free, but the certificate's going to cost you like 50 bucks. It's worth it. So MOOCs are a way for you to also try on a possible major that you're considering and make sure that it fits. I can't tell you how many times I've had a scholar tell me they want to go into X major. Don't know anything about it, but they want to do it. And then they cannot even get through 2 hours of a class. Think about this. If you are trying to do a MOOC and you are bombing out of that MOOC and it is painful to do that class, probably not a good idea to dedicate the next 4 years of your life in that class. Additionally, capstone projects. I'm a big fan of these. This is when you actually create learning opportunities for yourself. Capstone opportunities are when you say, I'm curious about X, and I'm going to go do something about it. I had one scholar last year who was interested in studying business. He wrote a business plan, right, for a fence staining business, and actually launched a business. I have another scholar who was really interested in international relations, and then she actually wrote a paper on international relations and submitted it to Congress and got it published on Amazon. So, you don't have to go to that extreme. I mean, these are crazy. It can be as big or as small as you want. The best capstone projects, independent learning projects, are where you have a mentor. And it's where you say, gosh, I'm curious. I want to learn more about this, maybe interior designing. Go remodel, go redesign a bedroom. Now, not physically, because your parents are going to have a cow and then you're going to blame me. But you can create 3D graphics and art, and you can pick out new drapes and new bedding and flooring and all of that, and document what you've learned, document what you got out of this project, and that can be part of your capstone project. The admissions officer, what they're curious about, if you are doing a MOOC or if you are doing a capstone project, they're curious about, where did your epiphany happen? What point of this project did you have the arc of learning? There was an intersection that took place. Where was that? Where did you realize that you were challenging your own personal beliefs in this project? That is what you're hoping to explore and hoping to learn. So capstone projects and MOOCs are absolutely outstanding ways to help you be competitive in already what is a competitive applicant pool, but have a lot of fun also at the same time with learning. Okay, moving on to the next screen. Essay advice. Oh my goodness. You know, how ironic. Our scholars, starting with the freshman year, we have a step-by-step guide to researching colleges and universities. And we actually start preparing for the essays pretty early on. But we actually don't start writing the essay until May of the junior year. And so let me talk with you just briefly about the essay. And I do an entire presentation on the main essay, by the way. But there's two types of writing that you're going to have. None of it's fun. I'm going to be honest with you. That main essay is about self-reflection, self-discovery. It's arguably the hardest piece of writing you'll ever have to do in your life. And it is the most important piece of writing you'll ever have to do in your life. Every single college is going to read this essay. So that main essay is about self-reflection, self-discovery, giving the admissions officer something that they cannot find out anywhere else about you. And then you have short answer questions. They are just as challenging as the main essay, but they're research-based, right? And so if you're doing your work early, you're connecting with colleges, you're connecting with universities, and you're actually writing down your research and your work, then you can make the writing a real cinch. Now, one of the things that we have at Access College America are writing labs in which our scholars get to attend 2-hour group workshops in which they are mapping out their outline, their topic, their theme, and they're getting approval for that. But they also are researching colleges and universities as freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. And we require them to use our step-by-step approach for researching schools so that they are collecting research on every school that they're researching. And then when they realize where they're going to apply and they have short answer questions, your research is done. What should you be paying attention to help you with your research? I'm going to show you right now. And by the way, do make sure that you add your questions into the chat box because I'm about to answer those here in just a moment. Let's say that you're interested in going to Rice and you want to study engineering, which is a little bit vague. It's important that as you are starting your research that you spend time on this website right here. And you want to look at all of the different undergrad majors that you can possibly go into, right? You want to look at these majors. And let's say you're interested in going into bioengineering. Spend time here, look at the academic calendar, look at the undergrad students, read about the different types of classes you're going to have. Actually look at the degree plan. And I've got news for you. If you look at the catalog and the catalog does not look exciting for you, you may not want to really do bioengineering, at least at Rice. But the other thing that you want to do is you want to learn about the faculty program as well. So make sure that you are spending time on the university website and you are writing down information you're learning about the faculty members, about the program, about the student experience, research opportunities, and then look for your admissions officer. I get questions about this all the time. Yes, you all have admissions officers. I'm going to show you how to find yours, as a matter of fact, especially if you are demonstrating interest. Now, I'm going to pick on a school. I'm going to go with University of North Texas. Let's say that you're interested in applying to the University of North Texas or any school. So this is an example that will apply to every school. Take the name of the university and type in admissions officer. If you want to find out who is going to read your college application, which you all should, college admissions officers all have territories. Here, I'm in Texas. I'll do Georgia since you guys are based in Atlanta. And Latrice is going to read every single college application from an applicant in Georgia. And check this out. You can even schedule a virtual appointment with her now to demonstrate interest and connect with her. Here's her phone number right here. I'm sure you've got her email address. Now, you should be connecting with admissions officers at the universities you're considering. But when you reach out to Latrice, because you've already went to the school website, you looked at the faculty, you looked at the majors, here's how you introduce yourself to your admissions officer. You tell them these 4 things. You tell them your name. You tell them what high school you're at so they know that you are in their territory. The third thing you tell them is what is the major you're interested in at UNT or Rice or UGA. And the fourth thing you tell them is what year are you graduating? And then you tell them you'd like to learn about the student experience. So Latrice, my name is Dale Price. I'm a senior at Bowie High School. I'm interested in biomedical engineering. I'm a senior, I already said that. And I'd like to talk with you about the student experience, That is how you introduce yourself to an admissions officer. That lets Latrice know that you're in her territory, what major you're interested in. Maybe she wants to line up a faculty member or a student from that program. And because she's keeping track of you, she knows what your grad date is so that whenever you apply, she's got your file already active. One of the most common mistakes that students make is they actually don't reach out to their admissions officer. And if they do, they just say, I'm interested in going to UNT, which is a little bit vague. So, I want you all to know that college admissions officers are friendly people. They are looking at their cell phone. They are waiting for you to call them. Their full-time job is to recruit for their university. So, talk to them. That's their full-time job. They're coming to your high school. They want you to apply to their program. So do not be afraid to meet your admissions officer, and especially make sure that you research the college and university in advance of doing that too, so that you're ready. As I mentioned before, I do an entire presentation on the main essay on my website. You can click on attend a webinar if you would like to learn more about that. I do have a essay or a webinar happening on Monday, November the 30th at 6:30 p.m. And I will definitely talk more about the essay there. Scholarships and financial aid. Unfortunately, I don't have time to get to that one either. I'm going to be wrapping up here pretty soon, but I actually do have a presentation next Tuesday at 6 p.m. on scholarships. And again, you can visit my website and just click on services, attend a webinar. And these are totally free, and you're welcome to register for all of these. I do apologize that I have to get past that screen. Common mistakes: really starting late, not having a plan. Your list is not balanced. Most often students are applying to colleges that are only a reach school, and they don't have any demonstrated interests. At Access College America, we work hard to get our application submitted by September the 1st, going into the senior year, but our contractual deadline is October the 1st. So we're done with all of our seniors right now. And it is, the 14th. So we recommend having your applications done by September the 1st is the gold prize, but no later than 10/1, because then you pivot and you focus on your scholarship and your honors applications from October the 1st to November the 1st. All right, and then just before I see the questions coming, I'm going to get to that here in a moment. Hey guys, make sure that you are following Access College America on your social media outlets. Make sure you're following us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If you do follow us, send me a message. I'm going to send you a free gift. I'll give you that resume template. The resume template that I just showed you, I will give that to you. But you'll need to send us a message. But we're on all the major platforms except for TikTok and Snapchat, and y'all don't want to see me dance. I'm telling you right now. So don't even look for me on that. It ain't happening. But definitely follow us on your social media outlets, because I do Facebook Lives and so forth. Coming up for families that do work with us, as you know, we have labs and parent forums. So definitely make sure that you are engaged with that. And we are currently enrolling new scholars to be on our winning team. If you are interested in learning more, you can schedule a free 30-minute consultation on our website. Your mom or your dad should do this. services. You can click on schedule session at the very top, and then you can schedule the consultation request right here. And it's a 30-minute consultation if you would like to learn more information about essay preparation, career exploration, anything related to project management. Okay, I need a drink of water. Ginger, it is your turn. Do we have any questions?
Quite a few questions, and we have 11 minutes, so we're going lightning round. Drink, 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 rehydrate.
Good. All right, I'm ready.
Okay, I'm in 8th grade and I just took the SAT. Can I go to college now?
That's amazing. That is so cool that you took the SAT in 8th grade. I'm wondering if it was the Duke TIP program. I first of all, I love your ambition.
My alma mater has shuttered the TIP program. So students are not taking it for TIP.
Oh man.
Taking it for other programs like Johns Hopkins has CTY, and Stanford has a similar program. Northwestern has a program, but sadly, my alma mater has shuttered TIP, which is very upsetting for us.
I know, we got to talk about that. I'm curious as to why, but I love that you are so ambitious and ready to go to college, but you're going to have to wait. You got to go through high school. You got to get that high school diploma first. So, but keep the motivation.
I will say there are some students who do go to college early, earlier by finishing high school quickly, doing a GED, or if they're really eager to get onto a college campus, doing those dual enrollment programs you talked about, Dale. That's a way to do it. There's Simon's Rock at Bard College, which is a way to sort of get to college faster if you're unhappy in high school. But everybody likes you to cook a little bit more before you get to college if you can. Do you think AP classes as a freshman is a good idea?
You know, that's a question that you have to answer. This is a really good question. And I see this is coming in. I just saw the question. So yes, I mean, if you are college bound, the expectation is that you will take AP courses, but you know, what subject is it? How many AP courses should you take? But go for it. Take the pre-AP class first, see how it goes, see what kind of grade you get. You know, there's the difference between the APs and the on-level courses is you're just gonna have a lot more homework. So good question.
I would say, if you don't mind me adding, I have a 2-grade rule. So that's how you can kind of tell if the class is too much too fast for you, right? And highly selective admissions, it's not just that you take the hard class or you get a good grade. You're supposed to do both at the same time, which is kind of ridiculous and exhausting. And you're eventually ready for that, but not everybody is ready for it right away when they start high school. So an easy way to check is to see how much of an impact taking the harder class has on your grade. So if you take a harder class and your grade slips a little bit, that's not surprising. You're doing something harder. It's just like if I asked you to run a mile and you clocked it in at, say, 12 minutes, and then I asked you to do it wearing a heavy backpack, you'd probably take like 14 minutes to do it. You'll eventually train to do it at the same rate you did before, but it'll take some practice. So if your grade drops a little bit, you go from an A to an A minus, maybe a little B plus, and then pull it back up. That's one thing. But if your grade slips 2 letter grades, it's too much too fast. And make sure that you keep those grades up before you overwhelm yourself with too many rigorous classes. Okay, can I get a scholarship if I don't play any sports?
Yes, absolutely. There are so many scholarships out there. Listen, I didn't play any sports and I got the National Coca-Cola Scholarship. So, there are so many scholarships out there. You can apply for scholarships anytime. And when I say anytime, freshmen can apply for scholarships. So I love fastweb.com and CapEx, but realize the majority of your free money is probably going to come from the institution you get admitted into, and it should be from a safety school too.
Agreed. Another great resource is goingmerry.com, which is founded by a group of graduate students in Stanford who wanted to create something similar to the Common Application for scholarships. And then another Koch scholar founded Scholly, which is an app. And he's another great Koch scholar. I used to read for the Coca-Cola Scholarship. I don't think I read your application, Dale, but I did used to read for them, and Scholly is another great resource. That does cost like a little bit, but it's a really great resource.
It was on Shark Tank too, I think.
Yes,
Scholly was.
Exactly. Yeah. I didn't know if you know him. I don't know if you guys are compatriots, but he's a good egg like you. You were talking a lot about the MOOCs, and when do you think is the right time for a student to start taking them?
You can, I mean, here's the cool thing about those. I mean, they're not for a grade. So you can take them seventh, eighth grade. I mean, and hey, if you bomb it, who cares? You're not going to have to it's not for a grade. But I really do encourage our freshmen and our sophomores to explore majors or confirm interest by trying out a very simple MOOC. And then if the answer is yes, then you get more. If the answer is no, we switch gears, we pivot, we go to something else. But all of our juniors, 100% of them are engaged with having at least one MOOC in the school year, and they're focusing on capstone projects. Good question.
How important is it for, what role does an alumni status play for a student if they're going through the application process and their parent maybe is short of donating a building?
Let me tell you, I mean, my goodness, yeah, just a little bit short, maybe. I mean, that's pretty much all of us.
Maybe
Well,
a couple commas too away from that. Yeah.
I know. Oh my goodness. Well, the good news is you will be able to find the answer of that on the common data set. On the section right here on the C7, the basis for selection, you can scroll down and it will tell you the alumni relation and if they do consider it, if it's considered. So my advice to you is to take a look at the common data set and look at if the college will consider that, but also having a conversation with your admissions officer too to get the real answer is going to be helpful.
Thank you. We've got a family asking when students would get started with College Access America.
Yep. So, we start enrolling incoming freshmen. So, you're more than welcome to go to our website, connect with me, connect with one of our admissions officers. Have a consultation, and then we'll pair you up with a really great consultant, maybe me or a colleague, but incoming freshmen.
And what would you recommend for a student who really doesn't know what they want to study and maybe has really disparate interests? How do you figure that out? Is it okay to apply undecided? Are you limiting yourself if one of those interests?
It's normal. It's normal, you guys. It's okay. You don't have to feel the pressure to decide a major right now. There's a lot of really amazing schools out there that are not screening you for a major. A lot of the big name schools, you're not applying to the school, you are applying to a major at that university. But there's 3,500 colleges in America. Undecided is totally reasonable. In fact, most colleges, you're not even taking classes related to your major until year 2 anyway. What we do is, and I really recommend you do this using a guidance counselor or any other professional, but career exploration is so important. One thing that we use is called U-Science, and our scholars have inventories and diagnostics, including U-Science, that they complete to help them realize what their best fit is.
Awesome, thank you. Can you talk a little bit about the pre-college programs that are offered in the summer? Do you think those are a good idea? They can be pretty expensive. Do you think it's valuable?
Yeah, and I see that we're going to be wrapping up here soon. So Stephanie put a link in the chat box. Make sure that you complete that link if you want to be entered into our lab. This is a free lab. It's not open to the public. And this is a college research lab, by the way. I forgot to even talk about this. It's a 2-hour lab in which we are showing you how to research colleges and universities. It's a group workshop. Participation is required. So camera is on and audio is on. So make sure you complete that form in there. And if you want to get our newsletter, it's monthly, it's free. You can sign up for that totally free and you'll get that. Summer programs, there are so many options out there. I recommend connecting with your guidance counselor unless you're working with a consultant like us that has resources for several of them. But your guidance counselor should have a list of several summer leadership programs out there. But as you are learning about these, there's 3 things that you want to look for in a leadership program. 1, it should be merit-based, all right? Shouldn't be pay to play where everybody can participate if they have the right amount of money. 2, it should be related directly to what you want to study in college. So if you want to write, then do a writing camp. If you want to go into, if you want to do pre-med, then you do a science camp. And the third thing that I require for a summer leadership camp to be smell proof is that if there is a fee behind it, it should be little, 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 little. So, I'm a big believer in, programs that have to be merit-based, directly related to the major you're wanting to study, and also affordable for pretty much all families too.
Awesome, thank you. Can you just talk a little bit about the PSAT? Since we know a lot of students took it yesterday, and some students took it in as 9th or 10th graders, and that would have just been for practice. For 11th graders, it might be a national merit qualifier. Can you just talk a little bit about the PSAT? Because we have
Absolutely. First of all, great job everyone that actually took that exam. Statistically speaking, the more times you take that exam, the stronger scores you're going to get. The practice SAT, though, is not going to be required for college admissions, though. Only the sponsors of the PSAT are actually going to be are the ones that you'll be getting scholarships from. You can go to the College Board website and see who all the sponsors are also. But that PSAT, only if you are in the top 1% of your state will you be eligible for a national merit scholarship. The most important thing, the most important result that that's going to come out of your PSAT is your index score. What is your index score? And then that will also let the College Board know if you are eligible for a national merit scholarship. You should be taking the practice SAT and take a practice ACT. Get a benchmark early on your freshman year, take it one more time a sophomore year, and then going into the junior year, take it a third time. And then you have history of this exam, and you can forecast your projection for improving as well. But great job, everyone. You should be getting your scores back, I believe, in December. And then use that score, look at the common data set to realize what kind of competitive test score you should have.
You'll be getting them starting December 6th through the 9th. It depends where you live in the country. Thank you, Dale, so much for your good advice and suggestions for our students. We had some great questions, and I hope we were able to address as many of them as possible. You've got a great resource at your own school in the personage of your college counselor. You've got an opportunity to reach out to Dale and the college access team, and they're terrific. And we are happy to be of help to you here at Applerouth whenever we can be. We work with students to do academic tutoring, test prep, and as well as executive function coaching. If we can help you, we'd be glad to. We are getting ready to celebrate our 20th anniversary, and the party is on us. So if you follow us on social media, starting on October 21st. So that's next Thursday. We're doing 20 days of giveaways, and these are really cool prizes that have been approved by my own teenage children. So I promise you actually want to win them. So thank you all so much for joining us. If you have questions along the way, if we can be of help, we'll be glad to. As I mentioned, Dale was generous enough to share the presentation with us, so we'll send that and a copy of the recording to all of those who are registered in a few days. Thank you so much for your good questions, audience. We're grateful for you. We're so excited for the adventures you have ahead of you. Dale, thank you for your great advice and good counsel for these students, and I hope everybody has a great night. Take care.
Thank you.